Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's call the Planning Commission to order. First thing on the agenda is to approve the agenda and the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve both the agenda and the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And said, the agenda's adopted. Thank you. Who's taking over on the staff? You're gonna, okay. Ms. Maxwell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a couple of ongoing items for the Planning Commission agenda, just for your awareness, for information first. Is an update on the Wedding Barn interim use permit application that you heard a few months ago. That was tabled pending updated information from the Department of Labor Industry and the State Fire Marshal Office. The applicant has decided to withdraw the application for this time period. They were unable to kind of get everything clarified in our processing timelines for the application. So I agreed with her that if she wanted to resubmit that interim use permit, once she does get that information, we'll waive the processing fee for this 2026 wedding venue season processing timeline. So we may see that come back in the coming months, but just for processing and clarity, it was good to just withdraw that procedurally, and then she'll resubmit it once she does get that updated information. So just wanted to kind of close the loop with you all on that. And then the next item is ongoing. This is the WTTC land management, formerly known as the Humphrey Pit. So let me turn on the pointer. There we go. So this is an item that was held before the Planning Commission at your May Planning Commission meeting. After much discussion, the Planning Commission made a unanimous recommendation to the Cook County Board of Commissioners to recommend approval of the conditional use permit amendment, which would allow the gravel pit to expand an additional 5 acres for the open pit area, as well as allowing a wash plant operation. When I brought this to the County Board of Commissioners, May 26th, there was some discussion that was had before the commissioners discussed the Planning Commission recommendation. At every county board meeting, there's a time for the public to address the county board. And so there were 2 individuals who had written their comments to the county administrator to be read into the public record during that county board meeting. I did summarize those comments for you in the memo attached in your packets today. And I also included the timestamp of when those public comments were heard at the county board meeting, in case if you wanted to go through and listen to that directly. The county board discussed the Planning Commission deliberations. Much discussion was about noise mitigation and what the Planning Commission had discussed. And if you may recall, in May we did have a lot of conversation about that, and we drafted 30 unique conditions to kind of incorporate all concerns, including hours of operation, which hadn't really been addressed in previous conditional use permits. From that county board discussion, we identified 4 items for your attention for this item today. So essentially, procedurally, where we're at with this is, right, in May, the Planning Commission held a public hearing. I brought your recommendation to the Cook County Board of Commissioners. The public hearing is closed on this. We're not accepting any more public comments. We're just at the deliberation phase of this application. So the county board identified 4 items that they would like the Planning Commission, the advisory board, to the county board to discuss today. And then staff will bring your revised recommendation or same recommendation back to the county board at their meeting later on in June here. So the 4 items for you are summarized in your packet in the staff memo. And there is a representative from the from Northland here today to answer your questions as well. I briefed them on this discussion point, and I think they would like to take the opportunity to further discuss this with you. The 4 items for your discussion on this item is number 1, whether approval of the wash plant operations should be structured as an interim use permit rather than a conditional use permit. Number 2, whether additional noise mitigation measures may be available that would reduce noise impacts without creating safety concerns or operational challenges. Number 3, whether condition number 12 could be revised to establish separate operating hours for different activities if feasible based on further discussion with the applicant. And number 4, whether imposing additional restrictions on operating hours could create unintended risks or operational concerns for the county. One item I wanted to raise to you with this discussion of noise, on the screen is a picture from the Google Earth imagery, which is a little bit different from our typical county map that we refer to, because our county maps are typically the leaf-off conditions. So the leaf-on conditions actually make gravel pits stick out a little bit easier. And so in this neck of the woods, the red circle is the Humphrey gravel pit that we've been talking about, just north of the Grand Marais Airport. And the yellow circles are local gravel pits. Some of them are on public land and some of them are on private land. So you'll see just geographically, this is an area that has a landscape that has aggregate resources. And then Benegami Lake over on the right side of the screen is where we received public comments from neighboring property owners with concerns about noise. And I think what is relevant in sharing this with you from staff's perspective is that there's a gravel pit northeast of Benegami Lake, and this image in the lower part of the screen is from July of 2025. That does show equipment being in there. And so when we talk about noise and monitoring from noise from one distinct pit, it's often difficult to know where noise is coming from. If we have property owners on Benegami Lake that are, calling the county concerned about noise, and we go out and we measure noise, I just want to make it clear that any conditions that we place, we need to be able to enforce. And so for staff to be able to track where the noise is specifically coming from may be quite difficult when there's several different pits operating in a geographical area. Anecdotally speaking, we had a complaint last year from north side of Devil Track Lake. And I called around several different pit owners and several were not operating. And the person who had complained said that it was coming from a pit that was inoperable at that point in time. And it was actually a pit like much further away from that one. So it's more so to clarify that if we do make changes to the conditions that have been phrased, especially about noise and any kind of monitoring, it is a challenge for staff to specifically be pointing out which pit, and just recognize that this is an area with lots of gravel pits as well as an airport. So there's just a lot of ambient noise in this area of the county. So that's kind of the updated reflection that I wanted to share with you as we've been taking time internally to process this as staff to give you guidance. And as I said, I did speak with someone from Northland, who I believe is in the audience today, who may be able to answer some of your questions as well regarding Northland's perspective with some of the conditions and the discussions that have been had so far. That's all I have for you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. You were at the meeting in May?
Correct.
Okay. So,
Oh,
to hear your thought and reflections on this.
okay. I did have some questions. Maybe Neva can. One thing that came to mind was what type of operational hours conditions do we have on other pits? Do we know? We have record somewhere, but do we know?
Yeah, each pit has its own resolution and its own set of conditions. They're not necessarily a boilerplate for all of them across the board. I think in my discussions with Aaron from Northland Contractors, he's got some ideas that he'd be willing to share with you about how they might be able to look at what the county board discussion items are and maybe help spur your conversation along. But generally speaking, I don't have just an answer that's every single pit has the exact same conditions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Which I assumed was the answer I would hear, but okay, thank you.
It would take some time.
And maybe, Mr. Chair, a question just to kind of process, do we want to deal with these 4 issues one by one? There's the question of an interim use permit versus a conditional use, which actually, given that this is a new operation, the wash plant will be new for this pit, maybe that makes more sense. Give it a year, give it 2 years, whatever we want to do for the interval, and come back to it.
Just to clarify, there was a wash plant interim use permit for, I think, 2020, but that was just 1 year, and again, for a specific project.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if an interim use permit was considered for the wash plant, I don't think that would necessarily be problematic. I would just recommend it be for like a 5-year time period, something that provides a solid time period to see how the activity is going and be eligible for renewal after that time.
That's all I had right now.
Okay. Well, I think we should hear from the applicant, because these other ones get kind of broad enough to drive a truck through right now.
Mike.
Yeah, please state your name and address.
Aaron Holmgren, Vice President of Operations for Northland Constructors. I live at 4577 Island Lake Drive. Our operations are at sorry, we're all over the place. Can't remember our address off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Let me grab that for you. There it is, 4843 Rice Lake Road. Sorry, we have a couple of locations, so. And that's in Duluth.
Okay. So you heard the discussion on the interim versus conditional use permit. I think 5 years sounds, you're comfortable with that? I mean,
We are, yeah. We have interim use permits in other locations as well, and it's not that uncommon for wash operations to do that. I think there are several other operations that we operate under an interim use permit for washing, so,
okay,
yeah, that would not be an issue with us at all.
okay. And then, I want to kind of let's just take them in order. So additional noise mitigation strategies?
Yeah, for us, I think we have a plan going into this operation here to just keep a large embankment around the entire operation. So as we operate, all of our aggregate processing operations are usually performed in the lower portions of that gravel pit with the embankment around it. Of course, a lot of that sound is diverted upwards.
Right.
I think when you're starting off in a new gravel pit, they tend to be a little bit noisier, and that noise tends to travel quite a bit more. But once you actually get down into the earth and that embankment is around you, or that bank, it tends to deflect most of the noise up. In this case, as we progress towards the east, we would have that bank in front of us the entire time. So that bank would be, out in front of us 12, 15 feet high,
Good.
above most of our operations, so. The only
So-
exception there, I think, would be clearing and stripping at the top. So when you're, in there removing the topsoil and material off the top, you'd have equipment moving around at that time, but
Right. And that may be something we can address in the subsequent
sure.
items. Because that's the question, was additional noise mitigation. But that sounds like a standard practice, not an additional noise mitigation.
Yeah, I don't know if it's standard practice for us. I don't think it's standard practice in the industry to always set up in the bottom of a gravel pit, though. So for us, in this case, it would work out that way. Additionally, I think the question is raised on backup alarms and other things. There are, regulations on this, of course, with MSHA and OSHA as well,
Yeah.
that we can't.
No, nobody's asking you to turn off back.
Yeah, and beyond that, to be honest, I'm not gonna compromise safety
Yeah.
at all for any of my guys.
It's
It's just not gonna
a question
happen.
for us. So
Okay.
I understand, they're there, it happens, but that's, when it comes to a safety issue, it's
Sure.
It's not going to be a question. Then, condition 12 could be revised to establish separating office hours for different activities. So you just commented about how the initial removal of topsoil and scraping and getting down. So what do you normally consider your operating hours when you're doing that particular part of the feature?
Very similar. So it's still a 7 to 8 type of operation. Typically, when we're doing those operations, we're not working as late as 8 o'clock. Aggregate processing, because sometimes you'll run multiple shifts that come in, and you'll have a morning shift, sometimes you'll have a afternoon shift, and you'll rotate guys in and out. They work long hours. You know, aggregate processing is a slow process. When you're building highways and bridges and all of these things, it takes a long time to process aggregate. So the 7 to 8 is pretty critical to make that operation.
And was that a discussion in May? The 7 to 8?
Yeah, we talked a lot about that.
I think the only thing that we would, I'll speak on Saturdays. Saturdays, we want to have our guys go home, Saturday afternoons. I think we'd be willing to compromise a little bit there. 5 o'clock, have a 5 o'clock limit on Saturdays, if that would help.
The season is so short that they have to.
Understand, that thought gone through my head, right? You know,
We want our guys going home and spending at least a day a week with their family, so that's on Sunday. And when we're working up here, a lot of our guys live down in Duluth, Carleton County, Wrenshall, you know, all over the place.
Right.
So to try and get them home on a Saturday afternoon, you know, we would consider a 5 o'clock limit in that location for Saturdays.
Any comments or thoughts from?
Is there a project that's happening that you know you're going to be in this pit like for the next 3 years kind of thing, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are projects that happen up here every year that we end up with.
Okay.
And we're at the border right now doing some work.
Just because you didn't use it the last time, the wash, so.
Yeah, the wash plant, you know, it depends on the type of asphalt we have to produce.
Okay.
And the need, whether there's different traffic level mixes and mix designs that require a higher quality aggregate. And so therefore you have to wash some of those aggregates.
So that may or may not happen.
Right,
Okay.
right. I would say most of the heavy traffic level, like you'd see on Highway 61, those types of mixes very well could include washing, or need
Okay.
washing, rather. So,
And I know that 61 from Tofty to the county line is scheduled for 27, right, next year? I think so.
Might
Awesome.
actually be scheduled for this year, isn't it? Part of it.
Small part, I think most
Yeah,
of it
just a
is
small part,
27.
yeah.
And then with respect to number 4, we're being asked to consider whether there's additional risks or safety concerns that we should,
And some of that, I think, was some of our discussion about not to try to impose conditions on this location that puts them at a disadvantage to other pits that are
Right.
operating currently under similar conditions, making sure it's a kind of level playing field.
well, to be consistent.
Yeah.
Treat businesses and people consistently, right? Maxwell, you have anything any considerations you would like to add to this conversation?
I think this feels like this addresses a lot of the county board discussion items at the county board meeting. I think clarifying the 5 PM end time on Saturday and the interim use permit for the wash plant for 5 years would need amendment to some of the conditions that were formally recommended for the initial motion. So that recommendation would probably need to be amended to incorporate those items. We did already have a condition in here that clarified that crushing, screening, and wash operations shall, where reasonably practicable, be located within lower elevations of the pit, or otherwise positioned to utilize natural topographic shielding to reduce off-site noise impacts. And so we've already incorporated that element of your conversation into the conditions that were initially recommended.
Any board members, do you have any other questions or concerns that we need to address?
Mm-mm.
No? All right, I think I'm gonna take these in, individual motions. as opposed to trying to combine the complexity of this into one. So can I have a motion on number 1? I think that we were talking about a 5-year interim use permit?
Yeah, I'll motion for that. And then, does that change? We'll amend all those, it was like 30 conditions, right?
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair, it might make sense for a single motion about the conditional use permit itself with the conditions that you want to amend from the, just procedurally, it's going to be a little bit easier for us to convey this discussion to the Board of Commissioners if it's one motion with a list of updated conditions, so we don't have 4 different resolutions on,
Right.
because it's for the application itself.
Okay.
Makes sense.
That might work. And I think from my review of the conditions, that it's really condition 12 and 13 that could be amended from what was provided. The complete list of conditions that we're working off of right now was in that county board agenda item report, and it should count to the 30 conditions. If you're looking at what was in the Planning Commission May packet, those were amended following the Planning Commission. Would it help if I read to you what I think those amendments could be to the conditions?
Yes, please.
So condition number 12, we have hours of operation for all gravel extraction, screening, crushing, washing, hauling, and associated material production activities shall be limited between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays. No regular operation shall occur on Sundays or legal holidays unless specifically authorized by the planning director due to demonstrated operational necessity or public emergency. So the addition there would be changing Monday through Saturday is how it's currently written, and just make it Monday through Friday for 7 to 8, and then 7 to 5 for Saturdays. And then for condition number 13, I think it would work to say wash plant operations are authorized under this permit for 5 years as an interim use permit, provided the permittee maintains an operational plan on file for land services that includes items A through E, which were formally included. So.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Sheila?
Yeah. So
She's gotta make
my
the
motion
motion.
is that we approve with these adjusted, what do you want to say, adjusted conditions?
The condition, yeah.
I'll second that.
I think I'd like we need a bit more of a, we're not stating what it is we're adjusting or what we're saying. So I think it's more along the lines of, this is, so additional discussion after the motion's been made, right? And so, when we look at the motion, it's sort of, what did we say we were recommending, right? That's what goes to the county commissioners, is that we're recommending that, something more, something along the lines of condition 12 is hereby amended so that, or we're recommending it be changed to 7 to 8 p.m., 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 7 to 5 p.m. on Saturdays, no work on Sundays, legal holidays, and so forth that were previously stated. And that we also amend our recommendation that the permit be an interim use permit rather than a conditional use permit
For the washing operations.
for the washing operations. Add that to my notes.
Question on that. So then all the other pit operations are under a conditional use permit?
Some are interim use permits, some are conditional use permits.
Okay, so we've
Like,
got kind of.
extraction is a conditional use permit.
Right,
but,
right. But the wash operation is interim use.
Most often, I think we have 1 or 2 wash operations that might be more permanently planned that were issued a conditional use permit.
Okay, okay.
But again, it would help for us to take the time to do a full review, but keep in mind, there's also federal pits that are not subject, and there's grandfathered pits. This was a big part of our discussion back in May, that
Mhm.
there's these other legacy pits that aren't held to this these same conditions necessarily.
So does my recommendations on your motions make sense?
Sure.
So, may I just try to clear, I want to make sure I understand correctly so
Yeah.
we can bring this to the county board correctly.
Right.
Is the motion amended? Or,
Well, instead of just saying 12 and 13, he wants us to spell it out, what we're
Sure.
changing.
Sure, okay.
So,
So it's, could we clarify what the motion was? Because I kind of missed it and I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
so that we will change the hours of operation from 7 to 8, Monday through Friday, and 7 to 5 on Saturday. And that we will also change 13 to this is now an interim use permit for the next 5 years as opposed to a conditional use permit. All the same A through E conditions under 13 will remain the same.
Sure. And if I may clarify, also within this motion, it's all the original 30 conditions.
Correct.
Additionally, and it's overall to recommend approval of the conditional use permit with the modification of the interim use permit, as we mentioned.
Correct.
Okay, good?
Yeah.
In a second?
Still second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unheard? Passed. Thank you.
This will go to the county board at their next available action meeting.
Thank you.
Who's the next one?
Great.
All right, moving on in the agenda, the next thing we have is the letters of, for information.
The next one is the Isaak Beran conditional use permit.
Okay, so we'll just pass over to A and B.
We just did
They were
that.
just
I
discussion.
just did that, all right,
So it should be on new business.
okay.
Page
All right.
25.
Go to the Isaak Beran. Interim use permit. Staff, please.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request for a conditional use permit in accordance with the Cook County Zoning Ordinance, Section 4.05B4, to allow a home business in the FAR1 zone district at 330 Ball Club Road. The applicant's property includes 20 acres. The parcel is contained entirely within the FAR1 zone district. This is a listed conditional use in the FAR1 zone district, and the property is non-shoreland. The applicant has been operating their business as a home occupation for the last several years. They would now like to add an employee, which moves their business from a home occupation to a home business, which requires a conditional use permit. The business is a log home building and restoration business with about 40% of the operations occurring off-site. The additional employees are not expected to increase the number of semi-truck loads of logs, which are currently about 6 log deliveries per year. For zoning considerations, a conditional use is an activity or use that would not be appropriate if allowed outright in any number, but which, if controlled as to the number, location, and activity, could be consistent with the comprehensive plan and not be injurious to the public health, safety, or general welfare. The review of each proposed use must determine that it will or will not be compatible with the standards of the zoning ordinance, and if it is found to be, must attach conditions to ensure its continued compatibility. This property is within the FAR1 zone district. The principal purpose of the zone district is to provide for forest management, agriculture uses, and recreational activity in the less developed areas of the county. Home occupations are a permitted use, while home businesses are a conditional use within this zone district. I've included the definitions of the home occupation and home businesses definitions in your packets, which are defined in the Cook County Zoning Ordinance. I've also included the list of the standards and criteria for which conditional use permits should be reviewed. For background, the subject property is located in a rural area of the county off the Ball Club Road and largely surrounded by public land, with a limited number of private properties located south of the parcel. The adjacent property to the south contains a permitted use dog kennel operation. Several parcels further south include gravel pit operations due to the natural geology of the area. The applicant has operated the log home building business at this location for approximately 7 years. During that time, the property owner has consulted with the Land Services Department regarding the applicability of the zoning ordinance home occupation, and home business definitions to the business operations. Staff noted that the business did not clearly meet the definition of home occupation because portions of the work occur outdoors rather than entirely within an enclosed structure. However, given the purpose and intent of the FAR 1 zoning districts, the rural nature of the area and limited scale of the operation, and compatibility of the use of the surrounding land uses, staff exercised administrative discretion and allowed the business to operate as a home occupation. As the business has evolved, the applicant is now seeking a conditional use permit to establish a clearer regulatory framework for the operation. Historically, staff advised the property owner that a business could continue to operate under the home occupation provisions, provided that it remained limited in scale and did not involve employees and did not generate complaints from neighboring property owners. Now that the applicant would like to have an employee, the home business conditional use permit's required. For site conditions and considerations, septic records indicate that a purview was placed on site in 1993. There's no issues with impervious surface coverage or wetlands. As far as noise goes, the business does generate some noise, however, no complaints have been received to date, indicating that the activity is generally regarded as compatible with the surrounding zone district. It's also worth noting that the neighboring property includes a dog kennel, which contributes to the overall noise level in the area. Further south are several active gravel pits as well, accessed from the Ball Club Road. The established rural character of the district, shaped by its zoning standards and the 20-acre minimum lot size, sets an expectation for a certain level of ambient noise. On the screen is the site sketch from the applicant, which shows their working area for the processing of the logs. And the applicants describes the proposed conditional use permit with the employee would keep the same working area active on site. For public noticing, the application was legally noticed in the Cook County News Herald on May 22nd. 10 letters of notification were sent to adjacent property owners as well as county departments. There were no written comments received in the Land Services Department at the time of the narrative. I have provided some draft facts and findings for your consideration within your packets. For staff recommendation for consideration, the proposed use appears non-problematic with surrounding land use patterns and zoning. The Planning Commission should consider potential findings listed within the packets or modify and amend or adopt as they determine appropriate after the public hearing for recommendation of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. There are 4 listed conditions that could be considered. Number 1, all state, local, and federal regulations must be adhered to. Property must maintain compliance with Minnesota State Rule 7080 and the Cook County Septic Ordinance. Proposed hours of operation shall be limited to Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. The conditional use must be amended if operating hours are proposed to change, if the nature or location of the home business activity changes within the property boundaries, or if any other modifications to the operation are identified by staff not reflecting the uses proposed and approved. Number 4, if the operation exceeds any of the following thresholds, it will no longer meet the definition of home business, and a new conditional use permit for a commercial operation will be required, which would be more than 5 employees, or the owner no longer resides on the property. And just for an overall comment, part of the reason we tried to be really clear about conditions in a conditional use permit is just as a reminder, this does transfer with the property. So we want to be sure that we're setting conditions that reflect the nature of the proposal before you, so that if someone else purchases the property and wants to exercise this conditional use permit, there's conditions that safeguard the intents of what this activity is being permitted as today. That's all I have for you.
Okay. Do we have the applicant?
Yep.
Should we state your name and address, please?
Yeah, I am Isaak Beran, and address is 330 Ball Club Road.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add in addition to what?
No,
Ms.
Neva
Michael
did a
was
great
saying?
job describing what we do.
Okay. And the conditions and so forth make sense to you?
Yep.
Okay, good. I love hearing that one. It's all worked out well. Does the board have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Thank you. Should open it to public comment. And we'll open it to public comment. Does anybody in the public like to add anything to this particular discussion? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Thank you. Turn to the board. Any questions that you have for the applicant or on the subject matter?
The only, I see 5 p.m. here, Monday through Friday. I'm just wondering, sometimes if I'm working on something, I might want to go past 5 p.m. So I wonder if you want more than that, or Or if that's fine, maybe you get up
Yeah,
at
I
6,
mean-
that's good.
I mean, yeah, I would certainly take more time if allotted. But yeah, we're usually done by 5.
That's the only thing I saw that was interesting to me.
I don't really see any issue. I mean, it seems like just a change in the designation from a home occupation to a home business, because now there's one employee, so it seems to be the only thing that really is changing here.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Seems pretty.
Yeah, my only concern that came up was just the timing, the 6 AM, whereas we're doing 7 AM and to 8 PM for a gravel pit and a different time zone for a different type of operation. It would be my desire that there would be some consistency in businesses, you know, across businesses, but if you're happy with this and we're able to operate with it, then that seems reasonable.
Okay. Ms. Maxwell?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to clarify, the draft conditions were reflective of what was in the application. And so that's where I was just trying to adopt conditions that felt reflective of what's been proposed.
What the
Kind of
applicant
codify that.
requested. Right.
Mr. Chair, I would add one thing.
Yeah.
If no complaints have been registered and he's been operating from 6 to 5, then 6 to 5 probably is okay.
Okay. Can I have a motion then?
I'll move that we approve the application with the conditions as spelled out and move forward.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I'd second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? Motion passed. For
So
the-
go to the Cook County Board of Commissioners at their next meeting at the end of the month.
Okay. Thank you, Neva.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, seeing we've
I
completed.
will motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yep. Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is closed.
This one must be.